Venison is a great meat option. It's very lean and very healthy. We love cooking it in our home. Today we are making buttered venison steaks. This recipe is pretty awesome. I highly recommend this recipe if you've never cooked venison before. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. This recipe is also one that I would suggest for those that don't think they like venison, potentially because of recipes that have been cooked for them or chosen for them in the past. The simplicity of this dish is pretty hard to beat. So, you'll notice that I'm cutting the steaks pretty thick. You want to make sure that they're no less than 1 inch apart. Next, I am really liberal with the salt that we put on the steaks. You'll want to make sure that they're good and seasoned. After the salt, I add fresh ground pepper. I want a good coverage of pepper to go along with the salt. Next up is the Montreal steak seasoning blend. We really like this seasoning blend in our house. It adds a nice depth of flavor. Make sure that you pat everything down really well. Flip them on over. Do the same seasonings on this side as you did the other side. Now I added a drizzle of olive oil to the pan. And then I turned on the heat to medium-high. Once the oil begins to lightly smoke, you'll add the venison steaks to the pan and get a nice sear on all the sides. Once the steaks are properly seared, you can add a liberal amount of butter to the pan. Say about 2 tablespoons worth is what we have there. Then we add garlic. Next I added rosemary. And this is thyme. These two flavors mesh really well and create a great balance with the butter and these steaks. Here I'm moving the butter around the pan just to make sure nothing is sticking or nothing is burning. This is a good time to assess your pan and make sure that it's not too hot. If you think everything is immediately burning in the pan, I would suggest turning the heat down just a little bit. It's also important to note that venison is so lean that you can add this liberal amount of butter and not really make it too greasy or too heavy of a dish, or unhealthy too, because it really doesn't have any fat content within the meat. So you really need to add this fat to the pan to give it that balance of flavor. Spoon the butter over the steaks pretty much continually the whole time that it's cooking. It will help it cook evenly from the heat that's being poured over the top, and it will keep it moist and juicy and give it all that wonderful flavor that you're gonna want when you cut into that steak. Make sure you keep a good eye on the steaks in your pan and flip them as needed to make sure that nothing is burning, everything's cooking nice and even, and you get that beautiful golden look that you want. It is very important you have a meat thermometer for this recipe. You will want to cook the venison steaks until the internal temperature is at least 130 degrees, but you do not want to go over 140 degrees. So again, you'll want to cook it between 130 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Once your steaks reach that optimal temperature, you will want to take them out of the pan and set them on another dish and allow them to rest for 5 or 10 minutes before you cut them and enjoy them. We paired these steaks with boiled potatoes and green beans from our garden. Any classic side dishes would do. I really hope you enjoy this recipe.